Hello. Hi, it's me, Markus. Guys, I'm sorry there's been no video in a long time, but as I said, that's my last class, and there's A levels to take, and so on and so on. So here I go with my Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls video. This is not a gameplay show off. It's only my also mixed feelings about patch 2. It's, as I said, Reaper of Souls. Mainly my impressions on Crusader. Back there in the background you can see me playing the new class, the Crusader, in time-lapse. And yeah, Reaper of Souls has come out on March 25th, as all of you know. Maybe not all of you, maybe some of you, and maybe not even a single one of you. Maybe nobody will watch my video anyway. So yeah, as I said, this video is going to target people who need help deciding whether or not they should pick up Diablo again and buy Reaper of Souls or start playing Diablo anyway. So yeah, the points and things I want to talk about is the Crusader himself, and the loot system, the new loot system, loot 2.0. And here I go. The Crusader. He's easily described with a barbarian-like character. He's very much comparable to the barbarian. I mean, he's a close combat warrior. His resource is wrath. It's kind of handled like the fury from the barbarians, so it builds up over time while you're fighting, and you use it for your special abilities. And what I have to say is that the Crusader sometimes felt even more like a barbarian than the barbarian himself, since when I played him, and I played him all the way through the level cap, and I had kind of more of the typical hack and slay feeling I had when I played Diablo 2 than with all the other classes. And sometimes the Crusader, as I said, feels more like a barbarian than the barbarian himself. With this, the Crusader has very heavy and hard hits. He feels solid, even though the Barb and Monk take 30% less damage. And what I think is great about the Crusader is that you get rewarded for wearing shields. I mean, obviously you're forced to wearing shields, since you can't have two one-handed weapons. You can have either one one-handed weapon and a shield, or one two-handed weapon. Even in the shield, it's one passive ability where you lose a bit of movement speed for being able to bear a two-handed weapon and a shield. Which is great in my opinion, and it's a good idea to include something new to Diablo. And yeah, what I think cool as well is that after some time, I think level 30 or so, there is multiple auras you have, just like the mantras from how's it called, the monk, and you can choose between having more resistance or dealing more damage, just like the battle shouts from the barbarian and the monk's mantras. And that gives him kind of more individuality, because you don't have to choose having more resistance, since it's not as much as the shout from the barbarian. It's a fixed amount, so it's not like 20%, and you can give it a short boost for a few seconds every minute or half minute. I don't have the exact numbers right now. And I tried it out. I tried different aura thingies out, and they're all great. Most of the time I used the resistance one, since I used my Hellfire ring for leveling, my level 60 Hellfire ring, I should mention, and also a pretty decent weapon to speed up the leveling process a bit. So mainly toyed around with the defensive auras, and I tried to use all of the skills at least once to have a picture of them and there's a lot of them I want to talk about right now. All right, so I have the skills here on my screen. What I took down notes, I mean not the skills themselves, is that first I used Shield Bash, I think it's called, where it's basically a charge where you bash down enemies, deal a lot of damage, and hit all the enemies around you, which is quite nice. But from these attacks, I liked the sweep attack most. The cost is only 20 Wrath. The Shield Bash is 30, by the way. And the sweep attack has a pretty decent rune that makes enemies catch fire and take more weapon damage over a few seconds. Or also awesome for one. So if you use your Hellfire Ring and level quicker than usual, and the enemies are harder than yourself, if you level quicker with Hellfire Ring or Ruby in your helmet, then normally you have a higher level than your equipment is, because you find less amounts for your levels, if you know what I mean. So having sweep attack with the rune trip attack, then the enemies have a 20% chance to be tripped, and then they're stunned for 5 seconds or something like that. Yeah, there is some awesome skills as well. For example, Iron Skin, which basically absorbs 50% of all incoming damage for 4 seconds. And there's a lot of cool runes, for example, increasing the duration to 7 seconds. It's called Steel Skin. Or also Explosive Skin, where you deal 1,300% of weapon damage to enemies within 12 yards, which is a fucking lot. I mean, if you fight against bosses, this is cool because you will use Explosive Skin because, yeah, I mean, you won't have to save it for later because it's a boss fight. And dealing 1,300% weapon damage is just a fucking lot. And, I mean, it's just has a 30-second cooldown, so it's nothing hideous like the Wrath of the Berserker from the Barbarian before the patch when it was released in first place. I think it was like 2 minutes or that. 30 seconds is okay, but 2 minutes is too long. Yeah, there are a few other cool skills, and what I found interesting was Provoke, which basically makes the nearby enemies instantly attack you, and they basically you taunt them and they attack you, which is cool if you play with your friends. They play Demon Hunter or Mage or something like that, or Wizard, not Mage, sorry, that's from WoW, and they get attacked and they have obviously less resistance than you have, and you can just shout Provoke, and also you get Wrath for that, so you get rewarded for helping your friends out, which is cool. And there's also a pretty cool skill called Falling Sword, which costs 25 Wrath and has a pretty long cooldown for that, also 30 seconds. Sorry for hitting the microphone there. And where you just jump up into the heavens and come crashing down on your enemies, dealing 1,450% damage to all enemies within 14 yards where you land. So basically that's a leap from Barbarian where you jump and clash down again. And it's cool because if you see a mob just use the frost thingies that freeze you, then you can just jump up and let them explode on the floor, and when you land again, then you're not frozen. Also cool, forgot to mention that, is when you use Iron Skin and have Steel Skin, you basically have 7 seconds where you take 50% less damage and are immune to getting freezed. So also, if you're feared, you can just click that and regain your control over your character. So yeah, that's that. And back to my other stuff. Yeah, what do you want to say about the Crusader? Yeah, I mean, what also is cool that if you're playing the Barbarian, sometimes you realize that you generate fury a lot faster than you need it sometimes, and then in other fights or battles you have you need way more fury than you can generate. So with the Crusader, in my opinion, that's not the case, because Wrath, as I said, it's a resource, is very well balanced between spending and gaining, in my opinion. So the game experience feels more fluent and solid, because you can keep hitting your enemies with pretty decent heavy hits, your standard attack if you want so, and also can use quite a lot of skills as well, since sometimes they only have a few seconds cooldown and don't cost anything, or the auras are passive also, so you don't always have to use the active skill. For example, the resistance aura gives you a base amount of resistance to your amount you have already, and when you click it you gain even more, and some armor as well maybe. So yeah, all in all, I have to say that I'm very pleased with how the Crusader worked out. Many people were saying that the Barbarian was the only playable class for them, which I can understand, because maybe they played Diablo 3 because they loved Diablo 2, and that was a hack and slay feeling, and Diablo 3 mostly impresses with its graphics compared to Diablo 2, and the Crusader kind of brings back this original hack and slay feeling, which I can imagine makes some people come back to Diablo. And that's a big plus for the new patch, the Crusader. And as I said, many people said that the Barbarian was the only playable class for them, but now there's an alternative with many similarities, which is still different in many major ways. As I mentioned, some Wrath gaining is different than from Fury gaining, and he feels more solid because he wears a shield and all that kind of stuff. And on top of these things, the classes, the Barbarian and the Crusader can share the equipment, since they both need strength and a lot of resistance. That means if you love your Barbarian that much and farm on and have high level, level 70 equipment that's quite decent, and want to try out the Crusader, then you can use your Barbarian equipment later on, and that's no problem, because they basically need the same stuff. All you need to swap out is maybe the weapon and the shield, because the Crusader has a Crusader bound shield type, which basically is a bigger shield for more blocking and all that stuff, because obviously using two one-handed weapons with the Barbarian gives you a lot more damage, and to kind of compensate that, the Crusader must have bigger shields that make him like stronger, basically. Also has a one-handed mace and also two-handed maces and flails and all that kind of stuff. And they're basically another type of one-handed weapon, only limited to the Crusader, just like the knives and the blades of the Witch Doctor and the Wizard Staffs and all that stuff. And basically the Crusader worked out very well in my eyes. And something I didn't like as well. The Crusader sometimes seems a little bit too focused on defense. As I said, he's forced to use a shield, since many actives and passives use block chance as a crucial part of damage calculation. That means shields with pretty good stats can be rendered useless if they don't have a high chance of blocking. It's like a stat you have to have, block chance, because for example, a passive skill gives you, I think Shield Bash, yeah, it was Shield Bash, gives you more damage if your shield has more block chance. And if you have a very low block chance but awesome stats, and then the skill is useless because it uses your block damage to calculate the damage. And so it's another thing that you have to calculate when you build your character. And yeah, I think that sucks a bit. So Blizzard, please work on that. That it's not that important how big your shield is, since Diablo still is a hack and slay game where you run around, bash on your enemies, and hit them as long as until they're dead. And that's basically what a hack and slay is. You don't want to stand there with your shield up and wait until the enemy dies of boredom, boringness. It's obviously boreness, yeah. So yeah, that's it from the Crusader. Now let's go on to the Loot 2.0. As you can see in the background, the whole time, if you watched the video until this point, I mean, I'm very proud of you if it did, because I can't really understand you. Sorry. What was I going to say? Yeah, I wanted to tell you how many legendaries I found and how that differs from the old system, how loot is dropped. I mean, the old system is pretty much explained with a few words, since the first character I played, it was a demon hunter, by the way. I did not find a single legendary item until I hit level 60, which was the level cap back then. And that's just hideously low. It's just nothing. I mean, come on, Blizzard. Finding no legendary item is very, 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 I mean, it's not a few things, it's nothing. I didn't even know that there was legendaries in the game, and then I suddenly found something shitty for a wizard on level 60 where I didn't need it, and yeah, that was my first legendary experience. But Loot 2.0 introduced something quite interesting for new players in particular. I mean, let's compare some legendaries I found. I took notes. I'm prepared. I'm well prepared. When I was playing Act 1 the first time, I think I always played on Torment 1 at least, or Master and all that stuff. So I never played on Normal, because Normal sucks and you never find something. So if you want to find something, please don't play Normal and then complain, because obviously your magic find bonus is like nothing on Normal. So I found a legendary sword, one-handed, for a level 11 in a crypt, by the way, and I found a legendary axe for level 26 when I killed the butcher. I mean, that the act bosses drop something is now guaranteed until you hit level 60. That means if you're going to hit level 60 before killing every act boss once, I highly recommend you to wait until you're 59 or something like that, and then kill every act boss, and then hit level 60, because you can find some pretty decent legendaries for level 59 that can help you level from 60 on. So the next legendary I found was on level 30, and it was in the Bastion, I think is somewhere in the keep. And it was a helmet. It was I can't remember what it was, but all the weapons I found were pretty strong. I mean, you can't compare them to the weapon I had on this level, since I prepared for playing the Crusader for a few months before it was released. So I prepared a pretty decent weapon with a socket and a cool ruby that boosted my damage and all that stuff. But if I were leveling with items I found with the Crusader himself, then these items would be pretty decent. So yeah, the next item I found was 4 levels later, on level 34. It was in Act 3, and it was two-handed axe, which was also cool since it had a pretty nice effect. And it had a socket, which meant that you could put in a ruby. I didn't use it, but because I was more keen on using one-handed weapons, since you're just a bit faster. And I basically like them more because it feels more fluent to run around and hit faster than maybe less hard hits with a maybe strong weapon. So if I get to choose between one and a two-handed weapon, I'm very likely to choose the one-handed one, since it's just more fun. On level 37 I found a legendary ring from Asmodan, and I didn't find anything on in Act 4 for the whole time, but Diablo dropped somehow 3 legendary weapons for level 41. It was two-handed swords, but different ones, which were both really good for this level, and chest plate, which I'm still wearing on level 68 or so. I didn't hit the level cap, but I played it, so I have pretty good impressions of what the character is like. Yeah, by the way, I didn't mention that I skipped level Act 2 because I wanted to spare you from the boringness of Act 2. I hate Act 2, sorry. But yeah, I played Act 1 and 3, 4, and then a little bit of Act 2 is still in the video but it's on the very end, and from level something like 42 or 43 on, I leveled off camera because I don't want the video to be 40 minutes long. So yeah. Then I went back to Act 3 and found something pretty nice for level 47, a legendary ring. It was Lyric Signet, or Lyric Signet, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And that is pretty cool because the ring itself was strong, but it had 27% more experience. And that's basically like wearing 2 Hellfire rings and makes leveling so much quicker. And it's nothing you have to get when you're level 70, because obviously I found it on level 47, and on level 47 gaining 27% more experience is just unbeatable. It's just awesome. Then I found legendary shoulders from Asmodan on level 49, and somewhere else I found legendary amulets for level 50. Then for some weird reasons I didn't find anything until level 60, where I found something from Belial, or however you want to call him, the boss of Act 2. I don't care how you call him, please. It was some useless shit. I think it was some shoes or something like that. And then I didn't find anything. So basically, the new loot system rewards you for playing a character for the first time. It makes you find pretty decent equipment in a few levels. I mean, level 11 was like after 10 minutes maybe, or in the time-lapse video it's like 2 minutes in. So I found a pretty decent sword on level 11, and that's just great if you start Diablo. But I asked a friend of mine to play Diablo, the Crusader as well, and write down the legendaries he found, and he just found a useless mace, I think it was Thor's hammer, and for level 22. So I found my first one on level 11, and he found it on level 22, which basically is like 3 times after that, because you hit level 11 pretty soon, and level 22 is a bit later. And I found my second legendary on 26. So yeah, that's how the difference is between these things. So basically you need luck, and if you don't have luck you don't find it, and you can't buy luck, so I wish you luck. Then he found another legendary on level 29 and another one on 31, and then the generic ones from the bosses and something in between. But I chose these ones to show you because you can see that between level 29 and 31 there's just 2 levels in between, and you find pretty decent weapons in an acceptable amount of time. So Loot 2.0 gets a thumbs up as well. And let's just quickly check how we are with time. So yeah, that's great. Let's end it there. And thank you guys a lot for watching. And all in all, I have to say, please buy Diablo 3. It's awesome. And yeah, bye.